I've seen a lot of changes. When I first came here, back in 1987, I believe it was, there wasn't a lot of activity. There was a lot of speculation. Things picked up in the early 90s with the early 2000s with the hype of the Mackenzie Valley pipeline. And that was big for Inuvik because there was a lot of activity, a lot of economic opportunities, and a lot of money in general. As you know, oil companies like to sponsor things, so there was a lot of sponsorships going on. We built a pool at that time, and some of the money for the pool came from oil companies doing sponsorships. We ran an Inuvik petroleum show once a year, where I guess the major attendees were all connected with the Mackenzie Valley pipeline in some form or other. Unfortunately, that died a few years later. They did eventually get the approval, but it was too late. Prices had gone down on natural gas and oil. The cost of the pipeline had almost doubled, and the oil companies were no longer interested. Then we got the moratorium on offshore drilling, and that hasn't helped us very much at all.
Yeah, I mean, the economy is you know, we're really lucky where we are today with some of the projects that are happening around the region. Mm-hmm. But I mean, overall, one of the big hits to us was when they put an offshore ban on the whole Arctic, right? Because Tuk is a oil-based community. You know, we got probably 50, 60 years of history with the oil companies. And then when they put a ban on it, they wiped everything all out. So all our training, all our experience, all our income that had anything to do with offshore was gone when they put the ban. You know, we haven't been really talking much about that stuff, not at this level anyway. But obviously, we hear about it, right? The Northwest Passage and stuff like that. So there's definitely potential. Mind you, where we are based in the community of Tuk, our waters are not very deep. So back in the 70s, when the oil companies were here with the big ships and developing and everything, they did a lot of dredging, which was able to bring the big ships right into the harbor. So this whole harbor has been dredged. And that's definitely an issue now because it hasn't been maintained for years and years and years. So you could see our area being more of a taxi port to dealing with the ships, way out in the ocean and then taxing into the community. Okay. And whatever, if it's transporting on the highway or whatever it may be going forward. The ships would come in, they call this place the channel. There's a channel back here. This is the Tuk Island right here. Right. So this is a natural wave break that is super important to us, that belongs to the Inuvik Corporation. But the taxiing port would be on the outside back here, come into the harbor, and then they'd do everything all wherever they wanted to in the harbor area, right? So we still do barging, MTS, which is being run through the government, and this is one of the main supply communities for the coastal communities. So everything that we get coming in from the south will stop, from Hay River. It'll come into Tuk, and then they'll sort it all out, and then everything goes to Sax, Ulahaktuk, Paulatuk.
But even so, we have a hard time attracting professionals, because of a lack of housing. Mm-hmm. And you come here and you're going to wait 3 to 6 months to find a house, if you find one. And the costs are high. Cost of living, yes, it's a little higher here.
So what are the solutions?
There again, the federal government has to honor their commitment. And they committed years ago to developing the North, but they never followed through. Just depends on which government is in power. You get one in, they'll do a lot, then their term ends because somebody's unhappy with them. You get a new government, things change again. An prime example is the Dempster Highway. It was proposed and developed by the government of John Diefenbaker. Now, I won't say if I'm a fan of his or not, because he was really before me. But he built the Dempster Highway up as far as Inuvik. It was supposed to go down the Mackenzie Valley. It got to Inuvik and the government changed, and they canceled it. But we were just lucky it got built this far.
Yeah.
So there's an indication of how a political whim can influence our future. You know, if that had gone down the Mackenzie Valley, we wouldn't be talking about a pipeline, we'd have one. We wouldn't be talking about developing resources because they would already be developed.
Tourism. So now that we have the highway, I mean, tourism has, there's been a huge influx of tourists that have come into the community, usually starting about the middle of June and then going in toward the end of September. So yeah, there we have obviously the Arctic Ocean, all your props, your Welcome to Tuk sign, your Arctic Ocean sign. One of the big things that we hear about, and it's been done for years and years, even before the highway, was people come dip their toe in the Arctic Ocean. So I think that's the first recommendation, that you go do that. We also have an ice house, you know, that's a community ice house. Not open to tourism or anything, but it'd be good to try learn and understand the history of that and what that's about. And then we have the sod houses that are also in the community. So I think that would be interesting to learn the history on that as well too. Obviously, I mean, there's a little economic boom. There's positive, but there's negatives too, right? So the more traffic we have on coming into the community, Tuk being such a small municipality on a fixed budget, you know, every time the roads get busted up, we're the ones that maintain. So the more traffic, the more, obviously, the more maintenance that needs to take place. So that's been, you know, kind of a negative impact. And yeah, I mean, we battle every day with either the federal government or the government of Northwest Territories to try and create more infrastructure, and then trying to build capacity as well too, so that we can take on this big mad rush, you know, that everybody's promoting. GNWT and the federal government are promoting coast to coast to coast, Arctic Ocean. So we're getting a big rush that comes here, and we're telling them, okay, well, how do we deal with this mad rush? You know, we got no hotels, we have no restaurants. So, you know, how do we deal with it? And it's been a battle. You know, the highway's been open for 5 years now. And, you know, we still don't have an RV park in the community because we're not the hub of the region. But we're the destination of the region.
There's a lot of families from Tuk that have moved to Inuvik, and so the relationships are probably quite good. My wife's mother, as a matter of fact, was originally from Tuk. So there's a lot of family connections which have always been there. So I can't say the road has improved or made worse the relationship between Inuvik and Tuk. We've always had one. It's just a little bit easier to get back and forth now.
And Tuk is almost in a bind right now as we speak, because we're dealing with relocation, we're dealing with shoreline erosion, climate change. So, you know, how do we develop, where do we develop now And at the same time, you know, how far do we move off of the grid of the community to make sure that there's, you know, a safe place for the future. And that's what we're really dealing with now. So within the next 30 to 50 years, they say there's no more tuck. And we have to be,
No more tuck, what do you mean?
it means that we'd have to be on the south side of Reindeer Point. So Reindeer Point is right here, which is about roughly 7 kilometers from the main heart of the town. So within 50 years, which is not very long, we have to be on the south side of Reindeer Point, the whole community. Naked eye, I mean, last year I think we lost 10 feet off of one of the places along the shoreline here. That's just one fall of storm surges, which storm surges are getting longer now because of the ice being gone longer. So we're trying to mitigate that problem for wave action. But obviously we're dealing with permafrost too. So when permafrost gets exposed, we're facing like a double whammy here.
It's a major issue for us as well. We have roads, one in particular looks like a roller coaster. We're having to sink pilings deeper and deeper every year to put up buildings. If you drive around, you'll see sinkholes here and there. We have a lot more landslides than we used to have. We have a lot more storms now. We used to get one big storm in the winter. Now we're getting 5, 6, 7 of them. And it's not the way it used to be, for sure. Warmer temperatures in the summer. Tomorrow, Friday is forecast for 34 degrees. I said, welcome to Florida North. Mind you, we used to get 1 or 2 days a year like that back almost 40 years ago, but it was only 1 or 2 days. Other than that, it was very livable.
How many now?
20. Like the last week has been warm. We have had it in the past, but people have learned to adapt. And when they're building now, of course, the whole town was built with wood pilings, which over time were the best idea. But now it's all steel pilings, so they're not going to rot. And they're going down probably 3 times as far as they used to, 3 to 4 times the depth. I'm not exactly sure what it's at. It's not in my field. I just hope it continues as it is. I mean, it's going to grow. That's a definite. I hope something happens in the oil and gas industry and gives us a better future. But we're continually attracting, I guess, different ventures to town. If you look going back 20 or 30 years, we have Aurora Research Center, which is a completely new structure, although we always had one, or had for quite a few years. We have a college here. We have the satellite facility, the government one, Inuvik Satellite Receiving Station. We also have a privately run satellite receiving station. New North Networks is involved in that, and Ice Wireless. And that's quite successful. There's over 30 satellite dishes in the private station. It's a real multicultural society here in Inuvik. And the funny part is, if you look around the world and all the wars that are going on and the infighting amongst different religions and so on and so forth, then you come to Inuvik. We have Wiccan people, we have Inuvialuit people, we have Métis people, we have French, we have English, we have Muslims, there's Filipinos here. There's people from all over the world. And the funny thing is, we all get along. Nobody's fighting over, oh, you're whatever, Catholic, I'm Protestant, or, and so on. So it's good. Yeah, there's some issues. I mean, some people can't get along with anybody. But here overall, we have a great time.
The community get together, I guess it's the people themselves, and keeping the community together. Being born and raised in this community, which I am, if I go south, and I stay there for 5, 6 days, I'm at my borderline where I got to come back home now because of my diet and what I eat. But everything is way more relaxed here. And every day is different here. Not like the South. You wake up, it's the same thing every day, every day, every day. The traffic lights are still there, everything. The traffic is the same way. In a small community like this, you know, if you wanted to do something different tomorrow, then, you know, you phone a couple of your friends, you go out in the land, or, yeah, there's a lot of options here, you know, for... I think the beauty when we talk about, you know, not having all the support today, not having all this infrastructure needed, I think there's a beauty to that too, because of the originality and seeing the people and the community while it's not developed yet. And you'll get a sense of the real culture. So yeah, I mean, I love my community. To me, there's no other place in the world that's like this. And, you know, the Arctic Ocean, of course. I mean, we live by the ocean. We take it for granted because every day we wake up, it's there. And some people are crying when they get to the Arctic Ocean. And, you know, it's hard for me to comprehend that because I live by it every day. But, yeah, I mean, the people, you know, are amazing in the community. They're very welcoming. And, yeah, it's if you ever want to, you know, come to Tuk, then now is the time to come to Tuk before it's developed. Otherwise, you're just going to another park.
I'd say, come on. I mean, like I said, I used to drive out every year just to see the scenery and visit people and so on, and I loved it. I mean, you can't ask for better scenery. You can't ask for better people on the highway. If you break down, people actually stop and try to help you. Not like in the South where you can sit there for 12 hours hoping somebody will stop. But no, come up and see the North. There's so much to see here. There's companies here in town will take you on adventure tours. You can go to a major national park from here. There's just so much to do in the summer in particular. Even in the winter, there's tour companies here that'll take you on dog sled rides and everything you can think of. It's a great community. And the North is a great place. I've lived all over and I've loved every minute of it. If I had to do it over again, I'd do it again.